Hi everyone, this is our channel, Around My Story. Please like, share and subscribe.
Hi, I'm Gamila. Have you ever experienced a life problem? I know everyone has their own problems, but imagine you had to hide something all your life. Do you know what it feels like? If not, let me tell you. My name is Gamila. It means beautiful in Arabic, and I really am beautiful, or so I've been told. But I have a problem. I always wear a glove on my left hand anywhere I go because I'm too embarrassed to show it to anyone. This has become my life problem. You see, I've had 7 fingers on my left hand since birth. My family couldn't afford a surgery to remove these extra 2 fingers. It would have cost a lot of money, and I would have had to travel abroad because we didn't have clever doctors or good hospitals in my area. So I've been wearing a glove on my left hand since I was young as a temporary solution for this problem. People always ask me about the glove, but I never answer. I just say that my fingers get cold. You would see me in the summer wearing a short, sleeveless blouse and a glove on my left hand. There were a lot of things I had to give up because of my hand. Once, I wanted to play gymnastics. My mom was okay with it, so I went to many places to train, but they all refused to accept me because of my 7 fingered hand, which they considered to be a problem. At school, my classmates would laugh and ridicule me a lot, so I never had a lot of friends, just a few. I got into the college of my dreams. I thought that people might stop this bullying, so I considered taking off the glove. But I was afraid, because I was going to join a new society, so I didn't. I went with the glove instead. I was surprised at the amount of bullying at college, more than I had ever seen. It was a good thing that I decided to wear my glove. There were a lot of bullies there. Then, something happened. It became a turning point in my life. One time, while I was standing and speaking with my friends, one of them suddenly pulled off my glove. This glove was old and wasn't very tight on my hand. I had been intending to buy a new one after school, but they all discovered my secret. Some were astonished, while others started making fun of me and bullying me. I stopped going to university for a whole week. People blamed me for something that wasn't my fault, but that was the story of my life. If I hid away now, I'd be in this mess forever. So I decided never to wear that glove again. I decided to face my fears. I am beautiful enough to live a good life. I decided to ignore all the bullies and take care of myself. I went to my college. I didn't care about people's opinions. I focused on my studies, had great success, and proved to myself and to others that I was not disabled. The disabled can't think or succeed. Later, when I was attending a lecture by a famous doctor, he noticed my hand and offered to operate on it and make it look normal. This surgery would be the first of its kind in my country, and I accepted. When I saw my hand after the surgery, I couldn't believe myself. Bullying can ruin people's lives, but as they say, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
The Curse. I am Edward, or as they called me, the Crazy. No, I don't walk in the streets saying stupid things, or my mind is lost. They called me that because, or wait, I will tell you my story, and leave the judgment to you whether I am really crazy or under the control of a certain curse that will not leave me for the rest of my life. In any story, its narrator is the good side of the story. The world and circumstances stood against him in everything, who decided to face all this and overcome his problems with heroism and courage, and create a legendary story for himself to tell to his children and grandchildren. But it is completely different for me. In my story, I am the evil party, the person who tries to destroy the hero's life all the time, to take from him everything he loves and conquer his heart over it. And the hero of this story is my brother Stephen. It is instinctive that I have some love and affection for him in my heart, or even we broke bread and had good times, even if they are countable. But I hate Stephen, and believe me, if there is any feeling more than hatred, I would have. And the reason for my hatred is not his behavior. On the contrary, I admit that he is a human being that is rare to meet someone like him. Polite, diligent, loves his family very much, and is loyal to them and his friends. Distinguished in his work and superior, he takes care of the feelings of those around him and helps them with anything he can. And most of all, he loves me very much. And here is the question on all of your minds. Well, as long as he loves you and you know this, why do you hate him? My parents are the reason. I am older than Stephen by 3 years. Since he was born, he took everyone's attention. Before his born, I was everyone's favorite in petting, caring, and love that has no limits. There is no one else in their hearts. My father, who was a well-known businessman, and my mother, the lady of high society. There was nothing important for them except that they see me happy until the cursed day came, the day I found out that my mother was pregnant with my little brother. At that time, I was very happy that someone would come to share games and laughter with me, and I kept imagining how I would take care of him, and how I would be the elder brother to be proud of me. Once he was born, I felt that I would have a friend to be relied on, and he depended on me. Nothing will separate us. We are both brothers and friends, and support each other and our family. His eyes were looking at me, and his little hand touched my face, as if he was telling me, I feel your love for me, and I love you too. But everything started to change when I felt that my father and mother's interest in him increased more than me. They no longer care about my joy and happiness as before. Mama's time was almost for him. She no longer cares about me like she used to. When I fell or anything was happened to me, she would come to check on me and hug me, telling me that everything is fine. Now, if anything happens to me, she looks at me and says, "You became a man. Be strong and bear it." What happened that made my mother change? My father was asking about me when coming from work and brought me huge quantities of chocolates and sweets. Now, he started running around looking for Stephen, hugging and kissing him, while I am standing, exploding with rage, and only gets a cold kiss and a hug from my father, as if he satisfies his conscience, while seeing their interest in Stephen increasing, and I'm fading one by one. Stephen is growing up. Stephen is the one who makes them laugh. Stephen is diligent in his studies, but Edward troubles us. Edward is not obedient. Edward. Suddenly, I became the evil in that house, and Stephen is the innocent angel who never mistakes. A feeling began to rise in my heart that I could not explain, except that I do not want Stephen in my life. The idea of hurting him controls me, and I thought a lot about doing this. Like once, we were fighting over a toy. He cried loudly, and I took it from him. I felt nothing but a blow on my back from my mother's hand, while she annoyed me and told me, "Don't take anything else from your brother." She carried him and snatched the toy from my hands, and left me crying. She didn't even think of making up with me or kissing me like him. And at another time, we were running after each other. Stephen groaned and fell on his face. I ran to him to check to see if something happened. Guess what? Mama came quickly and hit me without any reason, saying, "Why did you hit your brother?" Stephen said, "He didn't hit me, Mum. I fell." My mother, who looked at me with extreme anger, left me and walked away. I didn't feel my tears as they were falling. When Stephen saw me, got up and made me feel good, telling me not to be sad, I looked at him while saying inside, "You are the reason. If you hadn't been born, all this wouldn't have happened to me." Certainly, you will say, what is it his fault? This was my feeling at that time, and an idea began to create in my brain. If Stephen disappears, everything will be the same again, and return to the beloved and only son to Dad and Mom. And the idea turned into a decision. On the same day, at night, in our room, I waited until I was sure that they were all asleep, and that Stephen had fallen asleep. I stood quietly and grabbed my pillow. I was step by step close to him and close to his face. I would hold his breath, and then Stephen wouldn't be there anymore, and the story would end. I approached him. He was smiling. It seemed like he was dreaming. "I will make you dream for a long time, a sleep that you will never get up again." I put the pillow on his face and started to hold his breath. I felt him getting tighter under the terrible pressure of the pillow on his face. Suddenly, I found myself removing it and looking at him while he was trying to breathe. Something made me remove the pillow from his face and went back while my body shook and throw the pillow on my bed and hid something under the blanket, saying to myself, what did I do? I didn't find an answer and slept. The next day, Stephen was talking about feeling suffocated. Of course, I don't want to tell you how much they were worried about him. I was the one who held his breath, and it won't be the last time. Day after day, the feeling inside me increases. Exaggerated interest in Stephen, and ignoring and frustrating words from me. Stephen and I grew up and moved to a more dangerous and bigger stage, a stage that I call responsibilities and priorities. Stephen was diligent in his studies by nature. He enrolled in the Faculty of Economics and Political Science, and he graduated with distinction. And he started to work with my father while I was still in my 3rd year in my college and didn't know when I would graduate. And I don't want to tell you about the kind of talk that was being said. Look, your brother finished his studies and worked and became a good person, and you do not know how to finish college. Seriously, my pity for you. By the way, what you are doing, God, I have a scary feeling that someone is supposed to be the closest to me. But who are you talking to? My dad relies on Stephen for everything in his work, and he is the one who developed the investments of our company. Stephen was a successful businessman. This made me more jealous of him. I felt that Stephen was the elder brother, not me. When I needed money to get something, or for any reason, go and take from Stephen. Just wait seconds. It is our money, not his money. I mean, I take what I want at any time, and without asking his permission. I tell you something, I didn't ask him. Despite that, I used to find money on my desk, more than I needed. He always told me, I am beside you and behind you. At that time, Satan was blinding my eyes to everything other than just one thought. Stephen stole my life, one by one, and I will not be quiet. And it increased more and more. When I graduated and started my career with Dad in the company, Stephen was in control of everything. Of course, I quarreled with them at home. Dad told me, "You're a loser. If you feared for your future, your time would have preceded him." But unfortunately, my luck, a successful son and a failed son. These words were like bullets. "You were clearly showing favoritism, and you made me hate my only brother." After every fight, Stephen was trying to comfort me, and I kicked him out of the room and disturbed him. And he wasn't talking, just looking at me, saying, "I'm very sorry." Yes, you are sorry. You were the one who caused that to me. If you hadn't come, I would have been in a better position. And at this point, it was the beginning of the end, which represented in Anne. Anne was the daughter of one of Father's friends. One day, when I was returning from work, I found Mama standing with a beautiful girl in front of the door of our villa, and they were talking. I asked myself, who is this? I came close and greeted Mama. She referred to the one who was standing with her and said, "Say hello to Anne." We greeted each other, we talked and laughed together. And all of this, my mother was just watching and making a comment or two, until Anne walked away, and my heart flew after her. I couldn't tell what kind of feeling I had at that time, but I felt that I wanted to talk to her, and see her all the time. The next day, I took her number from my mom's phone without knowing, and called her. We talked a lot, laughed more, and met more than once. At that time, Stephen was traveling with Baba on an important business trip, and they would not return except after a while. I was responsible for the company. Anne made everything easy on me, and I trusted her to the point where she made me tell her all my secrets, including, of course, my story with Stephen, and what my father and mother do with me. Imagine that she cried when heard the injustice I was living through. And with her tears, I had a greater feeling that she was the only one who saw the real Edward. And I decided that I will tell my parents that I will marry her. Believe me, I didn't want anything except her. One day, after my dad and Stephen returned, I knew that Anne and Baba were coming to have dinner with us. We met, and I was happy that I saw her, until she caught sight of Stephen. I will not forget this moment. Anne's eyes followed Stephen when he greeted us. Anne was happy with him. That day at night, I asked her about her look. She told me it was a normal look, and I believed her. But the doubt was controlling me, especially since Anne did not talk to me